How's everybody doing?
We're doing great. All right, guys. So we're super excited today for this session. We're going to be bringing you the making of the I Am Machine documentary. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about what this is all about and what's behind it. Um, this is a long session, but it will be a fascinating, very enjoyable, eye-opening session. So we hope you guys all stick with us as we go through this because we have a lot to talk about. Um, I want to highlight a couple of things before we go into this conversation. One, this documentary was premiered in Vegas this past year. Thank you to Fulcrum for sponsoring this documentary in Vegas. They made a great event happen. I want to add, since then, this documentary has been accepted into two film festivals, and it's on the horizon of being accepted into several more very soon. So the two film festivals so far are Documentaries Without Borders and the what's the second one, Len?
Filmmaker Sessions Volume 10.
Yeah, Filmmaker Session Volume 10. So great accomplishment so far with many more on the horizon straight ahead for us. So if that doesn't get you all excited and juiced up and ready to go, then we're going to now dig a little deeper into this conversation and show you a little bit more under the covers. What is this really? Before we talk about what it's really about, I want to highlight this event that we did, the world premiere uh, in Vegas this past Hacker Summer Camp. It was done at Starbase. Great venue. Thank you, Fulcrum, for working with us to find this venue and secure it. You guys did a great job. Uh, and as you can see on this slide, we had an extremely good turnout to this venue. It was a great night, a lot of fun, a lot of excitement happening here. And so, again, thank you for all of that and for everything that you was able to provide us. Give you a little bit more glimpse into what this really looks like. This was some of the highlights of this. And Chris and Len, what were some of the highlights you guys remember from this night?
Oh man, to be honest, that was one of the most surreal nights of my entire life. I mean, just watching what Chris and me and Kevin, and everybody put together, it was really an out of body experience. It's something I'm going to take with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I agree. It was the same for me. It's different, putting this together with your own vision and have it being seen by the CCN only, and then having a night where it's on the big screen. You get real time reactions, you get real life comments and feedback afterwards. So yeah, it was definitely surreal for me as well.
Wow, it was a big screen too. You know, super exciting night. I mean, several highlights, but I'd like to call out the group picture that's on here, and because it's one of my favorites. It really captures everyone who is involved with CCN in some kind of way or the documentary in some kind of way. It is a great hacker community of people coming together, and that is just an awesome capture of what that hacker community looks like. So we're happy that this community continues to grow and to make connections. We have a side channel that we use that I was just, guys, thinking about this the other day. The Turnt Crew, that side channel started many years ago by Kevin and I, has now evolved into something like 50 members or something like that. I mean, it's an insane amount of high impact ethical hackers sitting in this crew. At at any moment is at your fingertips to be like, hey, anybody out here is familiar with this, and this. And boom, you got a network of experts answering you on the spot, right? That is a highly impactful a group that was put together by the CCN. So I think we're doing a lot of great work. I'm super stoked about what we've done with this documentary and the collection of what we have to offer going forward. Again, thank you, Fulcrum, for putting together a great night.
Thank you very
Hey,
much,
thank you.
Fulcrum. We couldn't have had the event we've had, nor gotten the reach we've gotten without your support. So thank you all, and thank everyone who took the time to come out and spend it with us when we were in Vegas.
Yeah. Before we go further, I want to call out one more thing. My main man, Vito. You can see, if you see this random guy standing up there like this, that's just not really a person. It's not a dude. It's a virtual dude, right? That we made. We call him Vito. And Vito was this inspiration that we created at a different conference, that B-Sides conference that we presented him at, in which you can have a conversation with Vito. Vito is AI, and AI Vito in this scenario was answering questions. You can call him up or text him, and he will talk to you. And he was answering questions about the documentary, about the CCN group, and about all the podcasts that are and content creators that are part of the CCN. It was great. But Vito, great job, buddy. We'll see you next time. All right.
Vito is the unofficial, I guess,
Mascot.
7th member of the CCN.
Yeah. What the what, Chris? Spit it out. So that was a statement that Vito told one of our guests in a live show that we did, because he was struggling to get his question out to him. So let's get started in this. We are CCN, and this is what CCN is really about. We're a collection of, it's called the Cyber Circus Network. We're a collection of cybersecurity professionals who have come together. We're content creators. We've come together to provide opportunities to deliver cybersecurity messages around cybersecurity, AI, transhumanism to the world, to help educate people, get people more aware, and to talk about the challenges that we are facing within these different domains. We're made up of the Cyber Distortion Podcast. That's the podcast that Kevin Pentecost and myself host. Barcode Security. That's the podcast that Chris Glanden hosts. The Cyber Cognition Podcast, which is hosted by Len Noe and Justin Hutchins. And then the Borg Radio Hour. And amongst those groups, we deliver an immense amount of content, many thousands of followers, and impact a wide range of the community. So if you haven't heard of us, look us up, look up these different podcasts. I'm sure we can find something that fits your style. Today of the Cyber Circus Network, these 4 members are highlighted, primarily the first 3 members. I'm just hosting these guys for the great work that they've done. But I want you guys to go through and introduce yourself, and we'll start with you, Mr. Chris Glanden, the director.
Thank you, sir. Yep. Hey, everyone. Chris Glanden. Some of you may know me as Prophet, but I'm the founder of Barcode Security. I run the Barcode Podcast. My background in cyber expands 15, 20 years. Came up through the practitioner route, and then found my way into the content creation space. And I just really love content creation. I love storytelling, and finding creative ways to sort of humanize security and tell the stories that I think deserve to be told. So thanks for having me, and hope everyone enjoys this session.
And my name is Len Noe. My handle is actually just 213, but it's a lot easier to say Hacker 213. But I didn't come to the ways of security the way that Jason and Chris did. I'm the former outlaw motorcycle gang member, Black Hat, who decided at one point in my life that things needed to change. And I've taken that criminal background and I've leveraged that knowledge to become one of the more influential people in the cybersecurity community. The point to today's reason for me being here is I am the subject of this documentary and also am the first acknowledged augmented ethical hacker. At the time of this filming, we had started with a chip count of 10, but wound up videotaping the installation of my 11th chip. And I'm still working on new stuff and actually have another implant planned for next month. So I look at myself and my body as a walking electronics lab, and I have no inclination nor desire to stop, and I can only wait to show you what comes next.
So, Len, as you're saying that, before I go on and introduce Kevin and myself, I gotta tell you, as you were saying that, the description of yourself as this walking electronics lab reminds me of our CyberPal Kids card collection. So I talked about our Turnt Crew channel that we have all these hackers in. As we're adding these hackers to the Turnt Crew channel, someone, Glanden, had an idea that it would be great to kind of create the CyberPal or what were they normally called before in the
Garbage Pail Kids.
Yeah, garbage pail kid equivalent of cybersecurity professionals into cards. And so we've selectively have gone through members that's in this group and created their unique CyberPal Kid card. And if you and they're collectors. If you saw Len's, that's exactly what Len's looks like, exactly what he just said. This electrified human, that's the epitome of Len. So that was a reminder of one of the things that stood out to me as you said that.
And that's Frankenlen. The name of the
Frankenlen. Yeah, it's a CyberPal Kid. Frankenlen.
We'll have to put a slide in for that next time. But
yeah,
we're hoping to get these printed at some point, and it's really taken off.
It is. Be worth big money someday. So next on our list is Kevin Pentecost. Kevin couldn't be with us today. He had a work related event that came up. But Kevin was the editor of this documentary. He put a lot of time and hours and countless sleepless nights into this thing to get it all pulled together. Did a great job. So we thank Kevin for that. Hacker Handle, Brain Freeze. And then I'm hosting this group today. Jason Popillion, I'm part of CCN, as we were just saying. I've been in cybersecurity for a long time. I've been in technology for over 30 years professionally, the majority of that in an executive role of some type. I've been doing cyber branches of that for probably 10 of those 30 years. And then for the last 4 years have been instrumental in really driving the awareness through our podcast and through speaking engagements and other things to that effect, growing the CCN, growing the network, and getting information out to people to help everyone be more cyber aware. So Jason Popillion, Hacker Handle, Panic Attack. And so with that, guys, I just want to go through a few things like when we start to think about stuff like what was exciting and how do we derive all this stuff, right? And what is the meaning of this whole documentary? When we start to think about that, before you answer any of those, I'm saying this more because I want the audience to start thinking about what are we really talking about here, right? Well, these guys have talked about their backgrounds. They said some stuff about transhumanism. They're all kind of some hackers in some capacity. They have these cool little bios up here, but what are we really talking about? And so I want to get everyone the teaser. We're going to give them the teaser, and we're going to show them what this documentary is just touching on. You guys ready for it?
Let's do this.
Let's do
it.
No audio. We did not sacrifice enough 3-piece chicken meals from KFC to the demo gods. So
give me a minute. I'm gonna get it going. Oh, dude, really? You can't hear the audio at all?
Well, you don't even see your screen anymore.
I know you don't. I'm trying to. Oh, I got it. Here we go.
The clash between man and machine is coming much sooner than people realize. You might want to make that full
The
screen.
body I was born in was not enough for me.
Reformatted. Restructured. Reassembled. Recoded. Indispensable parts of a system. A necessary system. One that cannot accommodate dissent. We are all programmed to survive. Adapt or die.
Maybe I'm just here to open everybody's eyes.
Jason, we got to rerun that. We got to rerun that because we see both screens, and so you gotta expand just the video. Can you expand that screen only?
1 second.
We see, yeah, we see. I think we see your presenter notes and the
Okay, gotcha.
yeah.
Let's do this right.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Let's do this right. Gotcha. Boom. That should be better.
Yes. Can you? Yep. I can see
That'll
it
work.
now.
The clash between man and machine is coming much sooner than people realize. The body I was born in was not enough for me.
Reformatted. Restructured. Reassembled. Recoded. Indispensable parts of a system. A necessary system. One that cannot accommodate dissent. We are all programmed to survive. Adapt or die.
Maybe I'm just here to open everybody's eyes.
All right. Now that we got through that, well, I think we're set. So let's talk a little bit about how this documentary is structured. Just to give you guys a little awareness of this. So it's in 3 parts. The first part focuses on Len's past, his upbringing, and his personal life and childhood. The second part, part 2, focuses mostly on the 11th procedure of his new chip. Len referred to that earlier when he was talking about where he is in his journey. He's completed the 11th and even looking at additional. And then the third part focus on is a glance into the future and the impact of tech on humans. And so it covers a lot in this documentary. We obviously would have to take a lot of time to show you some documentary in its entirety, but it's a very gripping documentary that highlights a lot of things, especially as Len was talking about his past, where he came from, how did he evolve into the hacker that he is today, and then what drives him along the lines of transhumanism and what he really does. So guys, give me your feedback. Like when you're thinking about these 3 parts, I mean, this covers a wide variety of the what, when, where, and how, and
Even
the
some of the
passion
why.
behind it.
Even some of the why.
And even some of the why. That is true. That is true. But like just from a high level standpoint, like what was one thing that you both would say was like a killer awareness that you was able to pick up going through this process of putting this documentary together?
I can take that first, Len, if you want.
Go for it.
So for me, just to preface that answer, so I was fresh off of my first project. My first project / documentary. It was more of like a mini doc, called Inhuman. I knew from that project that I wanted to continue down the route of doing another project and continuing to tell these real stories that are kind of spawned out of security. And so I didn't really know Len. I think we met personally at Black Hat 2 years ago, right? I think it was.
Was it Black Hat or was it? I think it was DEF CON.
It may have been DEF CON. It may have been
I think it was DEF CON.
DEF CON 2023, I guess it would have been.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so just got to talking to him. And this is more around how the concept evolved into making this happen. And I think it took us about 48 hours to decide, or for me to decide, that this was my next project. This was the topic, and this was the person that I needed to refocus my next project on. And so after getting to learn more about Len, after getting to talk with him, and again, this was a short window of time that it took me to realize this. You know, I come to find out that his story, and this was post your publication, your book, I think, or it might have been right before.
It was right before, because
Okay.
that was in August, and the book was released that following October, so 2 months later.
Okay, so I didn't have a chance to read the book, but this is just through conversation. But what I'm getting at is that I quickly determined that your story has multiple layers. It was a very deep story. It wasn't just about the technology, which I think a lot of people from the outside looking in may assume, or wrongly assume. But it was more about, for me, it was more about the human transformation, and both professionally and personally. And so the more we talked, the more it became clear to me that this was just much more bigger than security, and the fact that I felt like not only the security audience needed to hear this, but I think the masses, this was a story that the masses could relate to if it was told the right way, and we can impact society as a whole. So going back, that's what sort of sparked my motivation to make it happen. And then once we mapped out the story arc, after I understood all the intricacies of the story, act 1, 2, and 3, and how that evolved, I think that's when it really started gaining traction and momentum. And then again, to answer your question, his story sort of wrote itself. It was just me, a matter of me putting the vision to it and putting it on screen. So I hope that answers your question, Jason.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we showed this trailer, right? And this trailer is talking about a lot of different things. In essence, and we have this up on the screen right now, in essence, this documentary is the compilation of a self-augmented hacker who embeds microchips and devices into his skin and explores the future, determines, where identity, security, humans converge, and where is there a line between human and machine. And we've talked about this several times, even on our podcasts, individual podcasts, and gone into depths on this. I got to tell you, several years ago, before I knew Len, I was actually attending a lot of the Black Hat conferences, right, the summer camps, and you were seeing the lines that would be out in one of the at Black Hat to get a chip embedded in you, right, and at one of the villages. And Kevin and I, yeah, and Kevin and I would be out there and like, that is just so fascinating. I mean, obviously I don't want to do that, but it is fascinating to understand the what you could accomplish when the chemistry changes. And Len has talked a lot about this, and I want to highlight this. And I'm asking you this question, Len, to elaborate a little bit further on it, because it was one of the things that I think as you watch the documentary, it doesn't get lost, but people don't capture the full essence of this particular piece. And it is, you've often said that one of the awarenesses that you've acquired through this is that the ability for legal action to be taken against you in terms of an incident occurring, i.e., you pick up someone's phone and you're able to hack it. That because the devices are a part of your person.
Oh, you're
not,
talking about the legal protections that I have.
yes, yes, that portion of it is just a fascinating aspect that people miss in the whole transhuman movement, in that when you apply that to the actual hacker cybersecurity scene, there are other things that are at play in terms of legal protections. So spend a little time explaining that to the audience.
Absolutely. Well, to explain that, you kind of have to take a little bit of a step back. I've been hacking computers. Honestly, I claim my first network hacked to my first computer hacked to a Commodore 64 when I mistyped a program I was writing, and my first network hack was on a token ring. So I've been doing this stuff since the beginning of technology. But when you look at what I was doing at the time, I didn't start out with just the simple idea that I'm going to just start putting microchips in my body. As much as the idea didn't disgust me or turn me away, it was also one of those things that I had to really think about and make sure that this decision was not going to have a larger ramification on the rest of my life. At the time, I was a major speaker for another vendor that's in the identity security space, and part of my job required me to do a lot of travel. So, not wanting to be short-sighted, before I actually got the implants, I tested with wearable devices utilizing the same NFC and RFID technologies to vet out the attacks to make sure that they would work. But I also did a lot of research into the legalities around doing something like this. If I started shoving microchips in my body, would this prevent me from being able to get on a plane? Would it prevent me from being able to go into other countries and do my job? And what the information that I discovered during my research was enough to just you could knock me over with a feather. I mean, let's start with just the FDA. When we look at medical, privacy, medical security around medical devices, that's all controlled by the Food and Drug Administration of the United States government. And there is not a single red teamer, hacker, offensive security person on their payroll. When it comes to these devices, whether they're like mine or whether they're medical in nature, like we'll say CGMs or pacemakers or cochlear implants, all of the security testing on these devices is done at the behest of the manufacturer. So they're farming this out to third parties, getting their certifications and just mailing them into the government. So, okay. Number two, every one of the implants that I have, along with anything that you can buy commercially, is looked at as body jewelry. So if you got your ear pierced or your septum pierced or your eyebrow pierced, those inert objects are looked at the same way as implantable near field communication or radio frequency identifier tags. As far as the government concerns, there is absolutely no difference, even though one is regulated by the FCC and the other one you can basically go over to your local knickknack store and buy a nose ring. It doesn't matter. But the ultimate thing that I discovered is when it comes to medical and health data and privacy around that, there is some amazingly powerful laws. We have HIPAA here in the United States, and we have GDPR in the European Union. And once you put things in vivo or inside the body, whether they are medical in nature or selective, the way I've done it, they automatically inherit the same protections as medical devices. So outside of me being caught red-handed doing something, and one of the reasons I've been making the presentations and telling people about this is to make them aware to the fact that people like me exist. You're not allowed to ask. Because that would be the same as me walking up to somebody and I'm sure all of the HR people that are on the call are sitting there going, oh my goodness, this would be the worst thing in the world. You can't walk up and ask somebody about their health data. You just can't. And I found that to be one of the greatest loopholes in the laws that are actually giving me governmental protections for my devices and providing me obfuscation as law. Now, keep in mind, there are ways to get around that. So, I mean, if there's reasonable articulable suspicion that they caught me in the act, you can, get a court order to actually force the revelation, the reveal of these microchips, but it's not something that a standard officer on the street or a corporate executive can ask and not worry about getting sued.
Wow. So I think that's just a fascinating aspect of all of this that I think gets lost in translation. So that helps set the perspective of what part of what we're talking about, gives us our hacker fix too, as we go deeper into this conversation. Get back to the documentary though. So what would you guys say was one of your most proud moments about the final production when you were finally done? What was that like?
It was like imagine watching somebody else watch you. I mean, is the honest answer, but the cool thing for me was one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie was the fact that I actually got to see what an install looks like. I mean, yeah, I'm there, I'm going through it, but to be honest, all of the implants I've done, for the most part, I don't watch. I just kind of like put myself into a mental headspace and I go somewhere else. But it was like I actually got to see what it looked like this time. So that was actually kind of cool. That and just some of the interactions with my dad. That was really interesting to me. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, the segment with your dad was definitely unforeseen. I think that was it was scripted in a way where I had that vision where I needed to get some information from him, but the way that it was told, the emotion that was involved, I mean, nobody saw that coming.
I don't think anybody expected that from my father. I mean,
yeah,
he stole the whole show, and I was supposed to be the subject.
That is true, and I think we have that clip. Let's jump into a little bit and
awesome.
And let's look at it.
I made a promise to myself that night that my grandchildren would never look at me in fear the way that my children did. And I knew that meant that I had to change more than just my appearance. I needed to change my lifestyle. I needed to make different choices.
Actually, when Len told me he was going to turn his life around because his grandchild was born, I was hoping that it definitely would happen, but I was a little leery of it because he had told me that before, and nothing had ever changed. With Len, me and his mom had discussions about him, worried where he was going to end up, especially with these implants he's getting put in. So we didn't know how it was going to turn out, whether it was going to be good or bad. But knock on wood, it turned out to be a good thing. I lost his mom last September, or a year ago September rather. But I still keep her with me. I got her face tattooed on my arm, which is right there. And I say goodnight to her every night, and I say good morning every morning when I get up. I was with her for 53 years, and that's not something you let go of easily.
in the period we're in right now, okay, we can see that this transhumanism movement is not some kind of fantasy. It's not just the stuff of films. It's actually something that they are trying to implement right now, okay? And we heard this morning about Islam last night. A lot of these different fields now, what we are realizing right now is that they're coming together. And the transhumanist philosophy is actually not transhuman, it's anti-human.
Transhumanism is a philosophy that was actually been around, in my opinion, since the caveman. The general definition of a transhuman is any human being that is using technology to enhance the human condition.
So guys, that was
I made a
was a powerful scene. And to your point, it did capture key aspects of this documentary, the passion from a father's perspective of the decisions that their children make, and even just, you know, enduring through life. I think, Len, we had this conversation before about that scene several times, in which it just, you know, my opinion is of that is it just highlights how much your father loves you and is looking for your well-being, and it just epitomized that. So that was a really good scene. I do appreciate that one a lot. So I had a question for you guys. Given all of what was said in that scene, how do you balance the storytelling with accuracy and with ethics?
You want to start with this one, Mr. Director?
Yeah. How do I balance the storyline with efficacy and what was it? With accuracy and
accuracy.
ethics?
Yeah, and accuracy.
So again, for me, it was the storytelling itself. I think that if it was just me writing this story, there would be more concern around that. I mean, I had Len, I had his brother Tracy, I had I had Kevin, I had everyone there along the way in terms of making this film accurate. And I think that was one of the major draws for not only myself, but I think for Len as well, is when we started this, we know this story needed to be told, but the fact that it was told through the lens of the CCN, a group that Len was already a part of, and through the lens of security, even from a bigger picture, I think the authenticity and the accuracy was super important for all of us to carry through. So I think we kind of kept each other all in that lane of accuracy, and I think ethics as well. I think it was a group effort. It was a group vision, and I think bringing the accuracy and the ethics together is what makes this film so powerful and more authentic than you would see out of, you know, maybe a straight Hollywood production.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Along those lines, then, thinking about completing the film, showcasing it, doing a world premiere, winning, and being able to be accepted into film festivals, how would you say making this film has changed you?
Well, for me, and I'll be quick and I'll hand it off to Len. I mean, for me, it was one, getting to know not only this person that I studied for a year, but becoming friends with this person and becoming very close. And I think we all kind of have a stronger bond now through this process. But not only that, just again, the educational part for me. You know, I knew of transhumanism before this through, you know, articles that I read or possibly through podcasts that I listened to, but to really understand the underlying technology and also the process that goes into that was really just, it was eye-opening for me to not only see that, but to be able to, you know, tell that story.
And Len, how about you?
Well, I want to take a step back to answer your previous question real briefly. When we talk about accuracy and ethics, I know this might be a little bit of a controversial thing to say, but I don't think you could really say what I'm doing is all that ethical. So and that's kind of one of the points that I was trying to make, is that the lines of what is considered ethical and moral, if you look back over the societal history, you know you could look at different things like the neck rings on some African tribes, the Asian foot binding, what was considered moral and ethical. Those lines have moved very much over the course of humanity and society. So I think what I was hoping would be a result of this movie would be that I'm under no delusion that people are going to start running around going, okay, where do I buy microchips? How do I get them into me? But the point is it's forcing people to take a look at where we are at this point in time. Like I said in the clip, if you ask me, the first person that used a tree limb as a crutch was the very first person that laid the first stone on the road that I'm walking today. And we keep moving down this road, and we want to bring everybody wants to be as close to that digital line as humanly possible. And I love the fact that they have the new sleep apnea implant out now.
Right.
And to me, this, and I bring this up for the sole purpose of this, to me, is the one that really, if you ask me, this is where the argument about transhumanism completely I love the phrase "jump the shark." It really did, because up until now, it's always been, people like transhumans, even in the clip, it's not human. We're trying to live forever, and there's so many misconceptions. But what it boils down to is how well can you interact with the space around you? Biologically, we're limited. Once you augment, now I can walk in a place that, even though we're still the same biological material, I have the capabilities to interface to the invisible. I can feel the waves. I can communicate with the machines on their own languages. And if you ask me, in 2025, where we now have cameos where we can open license our identities and things, this to me becomes very, very important as we move forward, because it's people like me. Not only are we the ones that can potentially compromise a piece of electronics through physical contact, but we also have the ability to validate without a shadow of a doubt who we are online. So that's the first point. And as far as the answer to the second question, I didn't think anybody would want to hear it, if you want to know the truth. I mean, and I remember when we were sitting at the Barcode event back in 2023, and Chris was like, "You're going to be the next documentary." And I was like, sure I am. Okay. You know, who, I've been breaking into computers for over 30 years, and I've been a public speaker for a lot of those, the last 10. But I never really thought about what it would be like to try and lay down this story. And even if you look at how Chris, laid out the story arcs, yeah, I guess if you, in this scenario, by the time we get to Act 3, I'm the hero. But in order for there to be a hero, you actually needed a villain, and I had to fill those shoes as well. So it was very difficult to actually film. And you asked, what did I learn about it? From the process, I learned that I'm a lot less, what's the right word? I guess I used to think that, I love the expression, when I die, I want to leave nothing but a fake name in cyberspace. But in order for this message to actually happen, I had to be willing to step up and take the spotlight. And it's been beautiful. It's been terrifying, and it's very vulnerable to be out here and announce that you're the biggest freak in the room. I'm grateful for the response that we've gotten so far, but I know that just for every person that's watched the movie, who will watch the movie and find some kind of interest, there'll be 20 that will think that, I am some kind of an issue that needs to be dealt with. So I live my days one day at a time, but I'm still very grateful for the opportunity to have done this. And I think I'm a different person now than when I started it.
Yeah, thank you for that, Len, because you said a lot in there that's very personal. It was expressing who you are, your past, your present, and where you believe things will be in the future. And to do that, you have to be vulnerable. And so there were a lot of times when you or other members of your family were in vulnerable positions when making this. And so it says a lot about being able to step out there and tell your story. So thank you for being able to do that and sharing that with all of us.
Well, it was my pleasure, and I'm grateful that people took the time and found it interesting enough to actually want to watch.
Yeah. So I got another one here, guys. When you think about like what was the funniest moment? I mean, like what stands out to you guys the most throughout all this whole film?
Len, I'll let you take that one. I think we have the same answer.
Yeah. There's a couple of Easter eggs, and I really want to take my hat off to Kevin, Pentecost, and his editing abilities, because in one of the, you'll have to watch the movie, and we keep getting asked, where can we watch the movie in the chat? So I'm going to address that answer in this as I'm talking here. The movie itself is going to be by private screening only through at least February of 2026. We are, as Jason mentioned earlier, we've submitted to a total of about 37 different film festivals, including the big four. And those are the ones that we're waiting to see the notifications on. And that would be Tribeca, Cannes, South by Southwest, and Sundance. So where can you see it? Hopefully you'll be able to see it on maybe Amazon Prime or Netflix or something, sometime early next year. Otherwise, just keep your eyes open to the CCN page or my website, www.i-am-machine.com. And we'll be actually putting up locations of screenings as they're happening.
Just with that, let me just mention real quick, we just locked down a screening for Dallas happening on November 13th.
The Lone Star Cyber Circus event.
Lone Star Cyber Circus event going down in Grapevine, Texas. We'll have details on the Cyber Circus Network site soon. The venue, the theater that we're having this holds up to, I think, 400 people. So there's plenty of capacity there. And then we're very close to closing down a deal to premiere it in Philly in December. So those are the two on-site locations that we're looking at, but there will be more.
And there was also going to be one more on December 18th if you're in the Houston, Texas area, as part of Security SecCon's user group. So keep an eye on them as well. But we really appreciate everybody's attention and desire to see this. We want you guys to see it. It's just we got to deal with the film festivals. And to answer your question, what was the funniest moment? You'll have to actually, if you haven't seen it, there's still a little bit of it left. But if you're watching, it's this really dramatic moment. And unfortunately, as you're looking out the window, there was a person walking their dog that had to stop and grab the plastic bag. And it's like, oh my goodness, how do we deal with this? This is one of the more, really heartfelt scenes. And we have a dog doing his business in the background. It was the worst photo bomb I could have ever imagined.
Yeah, that's hilarious. That is hilarious. You have to catch it, right? There's another scene that I want to highlight, and I have a clip I want to show that is capturing the process of Len actually getting an implant.
The install.
This 11th install. And so let's bring that to the audience and show you what that was like.
You listen to Fear Factory?
No, I don't really listen to music. With too many kids, I listen to Dora the Explorer.
Swiper, no swiping.
Yeah.
Swiper, no swiping.
That's all. all I got.
Have you gotten inundated by the Wiggles yet?
The Wiggles. I don't think so. We try to do Yo Gabba Gabba.
The Wiggles is like a bunch of Australian. It's like an Australian kids show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and all I kept thinking was, being a Gen Xer, the idea of Sesame Street just really doesn't seem that bad anymore.
Yeah, my granddaughter does Bluey a lot, and that sucks. She calls it tomato sauce instead of ketchup. I'm like, oh, you're killing me.
We're not British.
Yeah.
What people do with their own bodies, I believe, is their right, and I try not to pass judgment towards them. I mean, looking the way that I do, I'd get pretty upset if people pass judgment on me, But it's if people want it, like, I'm more than happy to provide it. If they don't ask me the correct questions or weird questions, I then might be less likely to do it on. But for the most part, as long as they look like they've done a little bit of their research and they understand what they're going in on, it's all good, as long as they keep the package intact and everything sterilized and not open or handled. Like, most of the time I'll do it.
So guys, that was an interesting scene because for me, because of the watching you're going through a process, but the conversation you're having is totally opposite in some regards to the process that you're going through. Talking about kids TV shows.
Well, not even just the process, but I mean, look at both of us. We look like somebody that you would, a couple of guys that if we were walking down one side of the street and you were walking the other way, you'd walk to the other side. We look very, intimidating, and and we're talking about kids' TV shows right before I'm about to get a surgical implant.
Yeah.
I was I heard it when like in real time when it was happening, but I was just so focused on what was getting ready to happen and just mentally preparing for that I truly didn't get it until we went back and looked at it again. And I was like, I can't believe this conversation even happened.
Yeah, right. You just let it go, Mr. Director, and you're like, what?
Yeah, but I went back. I was like, wow, man, this is how it really happens. This is the conversations that they have.
Yeah.
So
we may be augmented, but we're still human, and we still got kids, and we still like Sesame Street.
And still
I think that
life,
all relates to the the end story too. Like it's all part of the end story.
Absolutely, that's true. That's true. So I want to take you guys down and ask some on-point questions to each of you individually. I'll start with you, Chris. And Chris, you're going to kind of backfill for Kevin from the editing standpoint as well. But so did your vision for the film change as you were shooting and it progressed?
I think I think so. I think that it's very hard to stay with the original script that is put together, especially when you're shooting, because there are times that you're capturing aspects or capturing dialogue that was not intentional for the original vision, that you feel sort of encapsulates the entire story later. So it is, you do have to have a level of flexibility into working with that. And I knew that going in. But then not only shooting, but even from the editing process, and speaking on behalf of Kevin here, I was every step of the way with him throughout that process. And even the editing vision changed too, because you're capturing certain cuts, you're capturing certain angles, and you're like, here, well, we got to place this here. We got to place this there. So it's very grueling to put together, but it's fun. And I think at the end of the day, we're very happy with the way that it turned out. But yes, to answer your question, you do have to be, you do have the mindset of being able to fluctuate with that.
So Chris, were there moments where you had to stop being a director and just kind of sit back and just be a human?
Yeah. Again, I think that the bond that was formed, I think, is more human than the end product. I think the story is bigger than the end product. And I think what you see and what I directed is a direct reflection of that human side and being able to put out that authenticity. So
Yeah. So Len talked a little bit about earlier, this isn't being very ethical, but for you, Chris, were there ethical lines that you had to navigate, and how did you make those decisions?
Man, I feel like I'm being picked on, man. This is 3 questions in a row. No, I'm joking. No, ethical lines. So I tried not to have that bleed over into the story. Again, which I think is the bottom line here. I think that what we kind of went into this with, and again, consulted with Len on this going in, is that you really want to capture the everyone's perspective from every ethical angle that you can think of. We didn't want to make this a one-sided story. We wanted to have the antagonist viewpoint there as well. So yes, we told the story as authentic and as real as it is, and we tried to again not leave any perspective out, so the audience can actually take that and run with it with their own perspective.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right, so Len, I've got a couple for you. Like, when you saw the final version for the first time and saw yourself on screen as the subject, how did that feel for you?
I realized that it's true what they say, that the camera adds 5 pounds.
Kevin tried his hardest.
Yeah, they couldn't. They didn't. Apparently, he didn't have the make me skinny filter for that. But no, it was, like I said before. It's just a surreal experience in all aspects, But I remember sitting down watching that. When the guys said, they called me up and they're like, "We've got everything done, but like the last final tweaks. We're ready to show it to you yet." And yeah, I was the subject matter, but once we did the recording, I was pretty much hands off at that point, as Chris and Kevin were shaping this into a linear story. And the way that they did the back and forth between what I was saying, and then they would follow it up with my father, or with my boy Sonic or James, or just the way that everything fit together. It was like, I remember sitting there going, people are gonna watch this, and not to say that they wouldn't, because I think it's an interesting story, but I also have to be very cognizant of the fact that I am not everybody's cup of tea, and what I'm doing, some people are offended merely by the premise of what I'm doing. So to see it come out in such a polished final product, it was like, I think we've created something that is going to actually meet my main objective, and that was to move the H plus or transhuman narrative forward and away from what is currently in the news about, certain world leaders that are talking about harvesting young organs to try and live forever. That's not what it's about. At least not from my perspective and my belief in the philosophy that I follow. For me, it's about just trying to integrate as much into a world that is technologically ran away from biological humans for so long, that we're now at a point where we can actually bring them back together again. And that's what I saw when I looked at Chris's product.
So along those same lines, like, so you're watching the final film. Was there any surprises that made you uncomfortable? That you obviously approved and accepted it, but when you saw it all put together, you're like, ooh, yeah, that really hits close.
Not when we were not at that time. To be honest, that I didn't feel that until the premiere night. When it was just, all of the CCN got, our crew sitting there watching the final edits together, it was like watching, a home movie with your buddies. It could have been, the video of Chris's talk from 2023 at B-Sides Philly. It's your friends. But when we put that up on the big screen at the Starbase, and God bless Mel for, did a great job as being the MC. But, once it started getting to the point where, it was the heavy interviews with my father, I had to leave. I went in the back. It was just so, the emotion that it brought up, it was just so raw and in the moment, and watching everybody watch me, it was just a position that was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do right now, but I can't sit out here. So Mel and I just sat in the back, and, we watched through the glass, and I don't know why, but looking through that glass panel at what was going on, it was like, okay, this isn't, people in a room watching me. This is me watching them on this little screen. So it made it like one step abstracted, and it was a little bit easier to tolerate. Since then we've had multiple screenings. I don't feel that way anymore, but that first time when everybody saw it, I think we've all had that mental vision of what it would be like to be naked on stage, and to be honest, that's really what it felt like, because it's very, very raw in what we put out there. And am I uncomfortable by it? No, because I think it had to be said, but it's definitely been an interesting new reality to try and integrate with.
Yeah.
I have a question for Len, if you don't mind, Jason.
Yeah, go for it.
No, so I was obviously on site at the Fulcrum sponsored premiere in Vegas at Starbase. The second premiere was in Atlanta not long ago during Hacker Halted. Talk a little bit about that experience, because I was not there at that particular screening. So just curious to get an idea of, was the crowd reaction
very, very similar to what we had in Las Vegas. I mean, another big room, we probably had about 400 people, 500 people in the room. And I stood in the back and nobody got up. And to me, if I'm gonna point this back out in terms of the premiere. If people would ask me, well, how was it successful? Was it successful? And the only metric that I can really give is we managed to put a room full of people off of the strip, away from casinos, put them in a room, put a movie on, and nobody moved for an hour and a half on a Friday night during DEF CON. I that to me speaks volumes in and of itself. And it was the same situation when I was in Atlanta. The minute they started the film, the minute that static cracks and they lowered the lights, I didn't see people getting up to go to the bar. And just like we had in Vegas, we had an open bar there, and people didn't get out of their seats. So it was just reaffirming the fact that we built something together that is going to outlast us. It's going to still be there. And this is going to, if you ask me, I think this is going to be the first of many different documentaries on this subject, because this is the way that we are moving as a species. And I think we were just lucky enough to be one of the first people to do it.
So would you do it again, Len?
Would I do another movie?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I might have to. I would definitely do another movie, but I think my riders will be much different this time. I definitely need more than the McDonald's breakfast sandwiches we got on when we were in Philly.
Yeah. I got away with it. I got away with it cheap. Yeah. I brought you like egg McMuffins, man. And the next movie you're going to be asking for, next level. So
first one's always easy on you. After that, now you got to pay up.
But no, I would definitely do it again. And I would love the opportunity to see if, Chris and I have actually kicked around the idea of maybe doing a follow-up to this. I mean, the first one is I Am Machine. But I sat back and I looked at it, and I'll throw this out to both Jason and Chris, you know, for your responses, because we've already had the conversation. But I think it's more along the lines of we are machine. The only difference is I decided to put it inside my body, but every single person here on this call, we are all completely addicted to the technology that we have. Some of us wear it on our watch. You know, some of us have Fitbits, some of us are wearing Aura rings, but we all have one of these.
Mm-hmm.
And if you took this away, we'd all be up a creek without a paddle. So we are machine. The only difference is I'm not afraid of going under the blade to get it.
100%. I totally agree. I totally agree with you. That was a great statement. All right, guys, we're going to move into the last segment of this show, and this is going to be our lightning round. Now, in this segment, this is how it's going to work. I'm going to ask a question. Each of you will answer the first thing that comes to mind. We're going to go, I'm going to ask the question. Chris, quick, you're going to say it. Len, you're going to say it. Then we're going to move to the next question. Same story. All right. This is all about thinking on the top of your head and just throwing out whatever sticks. All right. And you guys don't know what I'm going to ask you. So too bad, so sad. But it's going to be good. So are you guys ready to do this?
Sure.
I got no choice, do I?
All right. Here's the first one. Biggest technical fail on set.
Ooh.
Oh, we both answering, right?
Yes, yeah. Chris, follow direction.
So yeah.
I was gonna say getting my dad into the filming location.
Oh
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Chris.
The refrigerator generator in the bar scene was non-stop running. It kicked in every 5 to 10 minutes, and it was a pain to diffuse that in post editing. So I think that was probably the biggest technical fail that I can think of.
That was those awesome editing skills at the end, right?
That's true. Yep. Shout out Kevin Pentecost.
Yeah. All right. How many hours of footage were you secretly dreading having to go through?
Well, that's an easy question. All of them.
Yeah, I mean, definitely more footage than I originally expected. I mean, we're talking about 80 hours down to 1.5, it felt like. So, you know, as Len knows now, there was a lot that went into filming. You know, he probably said the same line a million times from different angles, and it was just all part of it. And then just going back and going through that and finding, you know, what is the best sound bite, you know, how do we put it in and make it cinematic? So yeah, countless and endless amounts of footage, but I enjoy going through it.
So then what was the most overused word or phrase during production?
Most overused phrase. I know. We'll have the next draft done. We'll have you something to see in a week.
Yeah. I think mine was I need another monster.
Yeah. Those monsters probably went a long ways.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that answers this question. Coffee or tea during long editing film days?
Monster.
Definitely.
100% monster.
All right. How about, are you an early bird or a night owl?
Night owl into early bird.
I was going to say, I think the one just kind of leads into the other, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially if you're sleeping during the day.
That's true for both of you. So describe the documentary in one word.
Me.
Revolutionary.
What was yours, Len?
Me.
Me. Nice.
Like
okay.
it.
How about what's a quote or mantra that you go through when you to go through the tough parts of making this?
If Chris doesn't finish this, I know where he lives.
That's true.
Chris, how about you?
Len knows where I live.
Len knows where I live. Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah, I got to get it done. I told Len a week from now. He knows where I live. All right.
Actually, the person that should have got that question was Kevin. And, God,
Yeah.
I wish he could have been here to answer that because, I've said all along, I was like, with the amount of footage that we actually took, I feel bad for Kevin having to actually sift through all that stuff. And I'm going to even throw out a couple of things for it in his benefit. Apparently, Chris asked him if he'd like to help with editing.
Yeah.
So
Next question.
Help went to edit the whole movie.
Yeah, this turned out this was all about. I'm gonna chime in on this here because Kevin and I were in the middle of editing our podcast episodes, and Kevin's like, "Yeah, man, Chris keeps hounding me. He asked me if I wanted to help on this documentary, and so I need to spend some time helping on this documentary." I'm like, "Dude, you need to spend some time helping me on getting this podcast out." He's like, "I know, man, but I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna help Chris out. It shouldn't take a lot of time." Yeah, that was the last notorious words. It shouldn't take a lot of time.
Yeah, should. That was the key word in that whole sentence. Should.
Yeah.
Well, he committed to doing only. So here was the agreement that he would do the trailer only.
Yes.
And see how he felt after that. But I knew once he did the trailer, he would be hooked.
Yeah.
I knew that. But also at the same time, I couldn't have asked for anyone else to do it because again, we wanted to keep this internal and he's just a killer editor. He's a killer graphic artist. I mean, Kevin's very artistic in his vision. So our visions aligned in terms of what we wanted this end product to look like. But I knew once I got the buy-in from that, he was in and he can't be here to defend himself. But I think he enjoyed the ride too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to share my asset with you guys.
We appreciate that.
All right. So if you had to go back and give yourself one piece of advice at the start of this project, what would it be?
Only one.
Only one.
Chris, we need to film not where there's loud refrigeration at the bar.
So I'm notorious for picking film locations with noise. I did it in my first film. I did it with the second. I need to get better at that. I filmed next to an airport. I filmed in a busy city. I don't know if that's ever going to stop, but I'm going to work on it. Mine would be to just not take myself so seriously and trying to worry about the end product and just again learn during the process, stay focused on the story and just enjoy it.
So with that in mind, were there any happy accidents that made it into the final cut?
Just the one with the dog.
Yeah, just one with the dog. Huh?
I was going to say that one. Well, depending on there's a bunch of happy little accidents, but usually it's just some of my birds making noises in the background of every scene when we were recording here at my ranch. To that point, when people see the movie, the very last sound that you hear, the very last thing before the credits roll is a rooster crowing. And I think that was honestly a testament to the editing process and the fact that they were so tired of listening to my birds.
Yeah, that has a nice little touch at the end. Like there's more to come, right? The bird, there's more to come. So I appreciated that one too. That was a nice closing. So I got one last final one in for you guys on this. And it is finish this sentence.
Oh boy.
You ready? Making a documentary is like
herding cats. Trying to herd cats. Because, I mean, you've got, especially when it came to this documentary, you have got a lot of type A personalities involved here. You've got Chris, the director, you've got me, the talent, you've got Kevin, the editor. We're all very big personalities. We're all content creators. We're all in this space. And it's like trying to get all of us to agree to a single line. I mean, I remember the first time we did our first, edit, kind of walkthrough of, any potential edits we wanted. And I think it was about halfway through when Chris was like, dude, we're going to get to that. Is the story okay? So, I mean, trying to get all of us onto the same page, making a documentary is like trying to herd cats.
Chris, what about you?
Yeah, that's hard to say. I think it goes back to what I mentioned before, and it's sort of like you're trying to paint this picture. You're trying to paint, let's say you're trying to paint a masterpiece, but you're painting as you go, because there's so many different areas that change along the way that you don't really know what that end product or that end visual will look like. But it's basically, it's going to be a masterpiece at the end. The story is going to be what you want it to be, but you kind of got to think on the fly and, design that image as you go.
Absolutely.
Putting a puzzle together without knowing what the puzzle looks like.
Exactly.
Until it all is complete. Yeah. Yeah. And it takes a lot of, like you said, coordination, trying to get all the right pieces together, a group that blends very well together, that responds and reacts and fuses these ideas into a masterpiece. You guys do a great job with this. This is awesome work. Any last words about the documentary you want to leave the audience with before we close out?
I hope when the opportunity presents itself, I hope people give it a chance. It's definitely going to make you question what it means to be human in today's modern age.
Yeah, it's going to definitely, yeah.
And one last thing, I'm not saying that what I'm talking about is the only option, but it's at least one that I'm willing to talk about. Let's have some conversations. If it's not this, then what should it be?
Yeah.
Love that. Yeah, I think for me, it's, take the story as it is, but it also gets your mind thinking of, what the future of humanity looks like. And again, not only the future, but the present of what you don't see, because this exists today. And so a lot of people are saying this is futuristic. This is tomorrow's world, but it's actually today. And if this is today, then what does tomorrow look like? And then, get out to one of the screenings if you can. Follow us on social media so when the public release will drop. And we just really appreciate your support.
So guys, we're the CCN. I want to thank Fulcrum for having us on today. Chris, Len, Kevin, for speaking to this documentary, for the showings, for putting this all together. And follow us. These QR codes are actually good. They're not going to take you to any of Chris and Len's hacking sites, but they will take you to our podcast and allow you to follow us and get more content from the three of us of our shows at any time. So then I want to thank you again today. Hope you got a lot out of this. And if you have questions, we will only entertain those.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, appreciate it. It was really fun to go through this process and put this together with you guys in Vegas. We appreciated being part of it, and fantastic. Really want to thank Len. I think something that maybe a lot of people don't realize, or I didn't realize in this process, is the vulnerability it took for you to put yourself out there and put all this out to the world and make yourself vulnerable, and not everybody reacts the same way, but you were like, you know what, this is me, this is what I'm doing. I want to share my story. And that took a lot of courage to put yourself out there and be vulnerable. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah. With all of us, and appreciate all you guys. Definitely appreciate Kevin. I'll thank him offline, but Chris, Len, and Jason, thank you for your time today. Appreciate it. Fantastic session, and look forward to some more viewings, and can't wait to hear how all of the film festivals go.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks for having us.